How are we doing, everybody? So I'm recording this the day after Walking with Dinosaurs 2025 comes out, so May 26th. Been able to watch it, all the episodes on BBC iPlayer, and straight away I gotta say I'm disappointed. Throughout the first episode in particular, I was just saying to myself, really, is this how they're going to present it? Is this how it's going to be? There's a lot to get into, so I'll try and be quick with it. I'll be just giving my bullet points, basically. So, first off, the intro. I thought the intro wasn't good at all. It felt very generic for a modern paleontological sort of series. It just a bunch of clips of paleontologists walking around with dinosaur clips here and there. There was no cool graphics like the original. There was no epic soundtrack like the original. The music in general for this series just was pretty bland, really. Nothing significant. There wasn't a soundtrack that I sort of went, I need to listen to that. Everything was just, it was very, I don't know, it felt very factory made. It was like, that's made for purpose, just send it out. There was no care, there was no attention to it, it felt like. Another thing is, and no disrespect to the narrator, but I found his performance quite bland. There was no charisma, there was no energy to it, there was no breadth like you had with Kenneth Branagh in the original. Like, Kenneth Branagh had some weight to him, in my opinion. He had some weight, he had some tone. Just this narrator, he just seemed very monotone, just a bit boring, really, in my opinion. The other thing that sort of kind of just got under my skin quite a bit, and that was basically going from the dinosaurs to going to the paleontologists and looking about, hey, how do we discovered this dinosaur, what does it tell us about the dinosaur? That's all good, but it feels very Dinosaur Planet from back in the mid-2000s. For anybody who's watched that show, it's okay, but it almost feels like this Walk of Dinosaurs has followed that formula, and it really takes you out of the action. There was actually quite a few times where I actually turned to my partner and said, this is actually really annoying me. The way this is structured is actually really annoying me. I really think they should have done what they did with the original and kept all the behind the scenes stuff and all the science and the making of to an episode by itself. I mean, that episode where you look at the behind the scenes and the making of Walking Dinosaurs was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed watching that as much as I enjoyed watching the original series. But tacking it into the middle of the dinosaurs like this, I have no interest, really. Another thing that I just can't get over is that's giving the dinosaurs names, giving them names. I know that Walker Beast did it. I don't know. I kind of want to treat them as animals. I don't want a name. I just want to observe them like, oh, the baby Triceratops. It was basically like I wanted them to present it how they presented with the Diplodocus from episode 2 of the original. Like the way they scripted that and recognized that individual. Loved it. That was brilliant. You recognised it as an animal. I think by giving them names, it sort of anthropomorphizes them. I can never pronounce that word. And some of the behaviours of these animals, the dinosaurs, I don't know, just sometimes felt a bit cartoonish. Like the first episode with the baby Triceratops. It got chased by the Tyrannosaurus 3 times throughout the episode. It did feel very Tom and Jerry. I actually turned to my partner and said, this is Tom and Jerry. I'm watching Tom and Jerry right now. I'm not happy. I'm really not happy about it. I can't get enough of it. I don't know. I couldn't handle it. So by the end of the episode, I was like, let's have a look at the next episode. I'm glad this one's done. And just to sort of go back at the soundtrack a bit, I think what does this series an unjust service is the fact that they use soundtracks too much. There's too much soundtrack in this series. The original balanced the use of silence, of just ambience noise and soundtracks really well. And each episode doesn't feel like it has its own unique soundtrack like the original. The original, that was fantastic because each episode had its own unique set of soundtracks and they fit with the atmosphere of the episode perfectly. This, it feels like they they didn't really care. And at one point, even in, I think it was episode 5, the Pachyrhinosaurus one, and I swear to God, go back and watch it, they actually used the soundtrack from Dinosaurs: The Final Day. Yeah, the David Attenborough one. They actually used the soundtrack from that. And this is something else I'm actually going to talk about. The dinosaur sound effects. There's no dinosaur sounds that stood out to me. Everything felt very just hey, let's slam 3 or 4 sounds together at the same volume. No particular sound is going to have a prominence, like the Tyrannosaurus from the original had an iconic roar because it was distinct, it was different. Allosaurus is a really good example. That sound has stood the test of time. The sound effects for that dinosaur stood the test of time. But every dinosaur roar here just sounded like it was just 3 or 4 sounds just smashed together at the same volume and just, that's a dinosaur roar. I get they're trying to be accurate, but look at modern day dinosaurs, look at birds. Every bird has a distinct call. And we as humans, we're actually able to pick that up. Even crocodiles. Crocodiles have distinct noises and distinct calls from, different species. It's not hard. And then I find that some of the sound effects they're using are from like the 90s. Still using sound effects from the 90s. Like there was a couple of roars in there that came from Land Before Time, the original movie. I was kind of like, what were you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They even use sound effects for the Pachyrhinosaurus from Walking with Dinosaurs, the 3D movie. And I know people give that movie a bad rap, but to be honest, I was almost kind of preferring that movie over this. That's how disappointed I am. I actually felt like going back and watching that movie more than rewatching this. Just, yeah. However, there are some good things about this, okay? There are some good things about this. I think highlighting species that don't usually get highlighted is pretty cool. Gastonia got its own episode. That's really cool. Lusatitan got its own episode, even though I thought it was kind of boring. The scales and the texture on some of the models, even though the CGI models weren't great, but the scales and the texture, they were actually quite good and quite accurate. I was actually pointing out to my partner, hey, the Triceratops skin looks really, really accurate. And the fact that they had Edmontosaurus, which showed up like 3 times in this series, which I thought was a bit annoying, and they didn't change the species based on the location. You had Edmontosaurus annectens in Hell Creek, and then you had Edmontosaurus regalis in 71 million years ago, and there was no difference between them, which I thought was a bit strange. But the fact that they had a comb on its head, a fleshy comb, that was really cool. I like that. The Spinosaurus scenes were really good. I like them, and the use of different species in the Chem, that was really cool. The T-Rex model looks better than the original, in my opinion. I just wish they'd given it the original's roars. It would have made more sense to me. And this is just a little personal thing, but a friend of mine actually showed up in the documentary. Dr. Roy Smith, I actually knew him back when I was studying at University of Portsmouth. We got on like an house of fire. Great guy. And Roy, if you're watching this, you thoroughly deserve to be in this series, and you presented yourself well, and I really hope that the rest of your research on Spinosaurus and the rest of the Chem goes really, really well. So yeah, Roy, hats off to you. In fact, hats off to you now. But yeah, overall, and you can see why I'm just doing this with just the poster, because it's I don't feel like giving this series another go and some energy to do editing. That's how disappointed I am. So yeah, Walk with Dinosaurs 2025, just an absolute miss. Honestly, I'd rather go back and watch Planet Dinosaur than watch this again. That's how disappointed I am. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Hope you're having a fantastic day, a better day than me. But if you do like it, you know what? Fair play to you. If you like this series, if you actually grow up loving this series, that's fair play to you. But for me, just disappointed. Really am. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever you want to do. Yeah, let me know what you feel. See you later. Ta-ra.